Good evening, friends. We start tonight with national security and foreign policy. Hillary Clinton was expected to give a detailed speech on foreign policy today, although what she delivered was a complete destruction of Donald Trump's credibility on the issue and his knowledge on the issue. Speaking in San Diego, Clinton held nothing back, telling the American people that Trump would lead us into conflict and create a new world crisis. Clinton touched on everything from Trump's lack of knowledge to his temperament, asking the American people, quote, do we want his finger anywhere near the button?
Donald Trump's ideas aren't just different. They are dangerously incoherent. They're not even really ideas, just a series of bizarre rants, personal feuds, and outright lies. This is not someone who should ever have the nuclear codes, because it's not hard to imagine Donald Trump leading us into a war just because somebody got under his very thin skin.
Clinton chastised Donald Trump for praising Russian President Vladimir Putin, and she called the Russian president a dictator and a tyrant.
And he said if he were grading Vladimir Putin as a leader, he'd give him an A. Now, I will leave it to the psychiatrist to explain his affection for tyrants. I just wonder how anyone could be so wrong about who America's real friends are. Because it matters. If you don't know exactly who you're dealing with, men like Putin will eat your lunch. Now, I've gone toe-to-toe with Russia and China and many other different leaders around the world. So I know we have to be able to both stand our ground when we must and find common ground when we can. It's how our diplomats negotiated the landmark agreement on climate change, which Trump now wants to rip up.
Clinton cleared the beach on Trump, leaving no stone unturned, saying if Donald Trump is commander-in-chief, it would be a historic mistake. For more on the Clinton speech today, let's bring in Michael Maloof. He's a former Pentagon official. Michael, good to have you with us tonight. What do you make of this? We didn't get any detail from Hillary Clinton on what her strategy is to deal with ISIS, terrorism, to work with superpowers. It was just a hit job on Trump. What's the strategy here?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It was a screed on Trump and not laying out an overall strategy, and that's what it was billed to be, was her strategic vision, and it was absent, absolutely absent. And instead she went after a man who doesn't have a track record in foreign policy as yet, but she does. And the problem is that her foreign policy track record is abysmal, especially when you look at Iraq. The pullout of Iraq in 2011, she was on watch at that time. She was the Secretary of State. Libya, another example. So her complaints against Trump are ill-founded at this point. And the fact that Mr. Trump has talked about even wanting to talk to President Putin, I think at least shows that we're willing to meet. He's willing to meet and talk to him and deal with him. And I didn't hear any vision from her as to how she was going to deal with Russia. And I think that is a real problem.
Well, that is an interesting point you bring up. I wonder what the first meeting between President Clinton and Vladimir Putin would be all about after she called him a tyrant. and I mean, the name-calling, it was Clinton-esque if it ever was. How's that first meeting going to know? That's how you win friends and influence people? It was a rather strange strategy. And yet we got a big resume from Hillary Clinton on who she's dealt with, where she's worked, and what she has done. Did she win anybody over today on foreign policy?
I think just her groupies and the people who are adamant Clinton followers, her anti-Trump rhetoric helped fuel that. But again, for those of us who are serious about foreign policy, who want to know what the new president is going to be doing, it was totally absent. Any kind of strategic vision on her part was totally absent.
She mended no fences or built no alliances with any allies today in this speech, or is that an overstatement?
No, I think it's an understatement. She offered nothing, and I think that this is a problem, particularly since she has a track record and has absolutely nothing to show for it. And I think that this is going to be problematic for those who are serious about foreign policy.
Michael Maloof, good to have you with us tonight. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.